Just as a disclaimer, we want you to know that some of the movies that we will be reviewing were shot in a different time and era where people of race and sex were not treated equally. We understand this and hope you do too. The movies or anything that happened on the sets are not the views of this podcast or what this show is intended to be all about.
Exactly. And we want to give due diligence in presenting the movie and not the views of the cast or directors or anyone involved. But we also feel it's necessary to let the audience know some of the background information to get a feel for what was happening at the time of shooting the film. Again, we hope you understand that we do not agree with everything that went on, and we just want to give out the information. And with that being said, hope you enjoy the show.
Alex Rogan had a dream.
You really are leaving here, aren't you?
To be as far away from here as possible.
You get your chance. When it comes, you gotta grab it with both hands.
It started with a game.
You're gonna bust the record.
But it wasn't just any game.
You have been recruited by the Star League to defend the frontier against Zur and the Kodan Armada.
And then one night...
Centuri's the name. We have to talk about a matter of utmost importance. Step into my office. I've seen him come and I've seen him go, but you're the best, my boy. Light years ahead of the competition.
Hey.
Alex didn't find his dream.
Hey, look out! Oh, dear.
His dream found him.
Where are we? Welcome to Rylos, my boy.
A world on the brink of destruction.
You were recruited by the Star League to
defend the frontier against Zur and the Kodan Armada.
Of all the life forms, on all the planets, in all the galaxies.
Oh my God!
One has been chosen. Alex Rogan.
Alex?
I'm Max.
Is the last Starfighter. For every Earthling who's ever imagined traveling beyond the stars.
Maybe there is a Starfighter left.
I love you, Alex Rogan.
Comes the unforgettable story of one who made it. The last Starfighter.
All right, guys, welcome back to the Tragedy of Cinema podcast. I'm your host, Jimbo, joined again today by...
The inflatable Kyle.
Inflatable Kyle.
3 pumps.
I just see like the Marshmallow Man from Ghostbusters. We've had the giggles for the last few minutes, so we had to restart this like 16 different times. So I'm not restarting the inflatable Kyle and saying it.
It's got to stick now. The inflatable Kyle, there it is.
So today we are on episode 78, The Last Starfighter. This was one of my favorite films growing up as a kid, and it was requested a long time ago by David Martin, so we're going to go ahead and cover it today. So Kyle, question.
Right. Okay,
No.
questions. We're not just going into it. Okay, I got a question.
Yes.
Go for it.
Kyle, if you... I know this is probably going to be the wrong thing to ask because this is going to go somewhere really crazy really fast. Kyle, if you were playing a video game and got sucked into another dimension world, what video game do you think you are good enough at that you would be sucked into another dimension, like the last Starfighter, to save the world?
Save the world. Man, the truth is, like, in most video games, I'd probably die immediately. At least the ones I play.
We're sorry, Kyle. Our princess is in another castle.
Exactly. Probably an Elder Scrolls game, because all those are stupid easy. I really appreciate it. You walked up this random building. Well, congratulations. You're now head of the Mages Guild. Like, yay.
Well, you know, I took an arrow through the knee.
Exactly. That's like every Elder Scrolls game. You just walk up and then they make you the leader of the new organization.
Yeah.
That's probably the one game I could be successful in.
All right, Kyle, before we derail too far,
You're the one competent man in this whole world.
Before we derail too far, let's go ahead and talk about The Last Starfighter.
All right, The Last Starfighter, released on July 13th, 1984, directed by Nick Castle, written by Jonathan R. Betul, and produced by Gary Adelson and Edward O. Denault. Composer Greg Safan, cinematographer King Baggett, editor Carol Tiffany O'Meara, and casting directors Irene Marino and Barbara Miller. Going forward, we have the budget of $15 million in 1984, where that'd be approximately about $39.6 million today. Opening weekend domestically got $6 million, which is equivalent to about $15 million today. And gross worldwide, it made $28.7 million, which would be the equivalent of about $75.7 million in today's currency. So, excuse me, folks. A very modest film, even by today's standards. Definitely wasn't like granted, like talking millions of dollars, so nothing's modest in millions. But still, as movies go, this is definitely a little bit more of a B tier film, I guess you kind of call it. Not in quality, but necessarily in budget, I would say.
Probably.
Yeah. Going forward, we have the technical details. We have a runtime of 1 hour and 41 minutes. 1 hour and 41 minutes, or 101 minutes total. Sound mix, we have a 70mm 6-track, 70mm prints, and Dolby 35mm prints. Color, we are in Technicolor. Aspect ratio, we have 2.2 by 1, or 70mm prints, or as another way to put it, of 2.39 by 1. The camera was the Panaflex camera and lenses by Panavision. The negative format was 35mm. The cinematographic process, there we go, was a Panavision and the anamorphic lenses. And going on to the awards, the TCM Awards, everybody. We have the Academy of Science Fiction, Fantasy, and Horror Films in the US of A of 1985. It was a nominee for the Saturn Award for Best Supporting Actor, Robert Preston. The Evores Fantastic Film Festival of 1985, it was a nominee for the Grand Prize for Nick Castle. For the Hugo Awards of 1985, it was a nominee for Hugo for the Best Dramatic Presentation for Nick Castle, director, and Jonathan R. Betul for the author. And then we have the Young Artist Awards of 1985. We have a nominee Young Artist Award for Best Young Supporting Actor in the Motion Picture Musical Comedy, Adventure, or Drama for the young Chris Herbert at the time. Whew. And going forward, we have the synopsis of the film. After defeating the video game The Last Starfighter, Alex Rogan is transported to another planet where he's recruited to become a starfighter and help defend the world from an upcoming attack. Whew. Moving on, we have a cast. That's my part too, cast. Yeah, who needs to breathe when you have movies? All right, first up, we have a good old the actor for Alex Rogan. And we have Lance Guest playing Alex Rogan, or / Beta Alex. He was in other films such as the 1987 version of 1987 RoboCop, the 1964, No, he wasn't in RoboCop. Sorry, I just misread my list here. 1987 film Jaws: The Revenge, Halloween 2, and Late Phases. Then we have actors like K.E. Cutter, who is in the 1993 film Star Trek, the show Star Trek Deep Space Nine, the 1987 film Zombie High, and the 2001 film The Hollywood Sign. And those are the only movies the actors have ever been in. No, I'm kidding. He's in another movie too, but other stuff as well. Then we have Dano Hurley. He was in the 1964 film Failsafe, the 1987 film RoboCop, where he played basically the main antagonist, basically the evil CEO. So yeah, Hugh Jackman in his own right there. And he was also in Halloween 3 as like the main baddie of that film, I'm pretty sure too. Haven't seen Halloween 3 myself.
What?
Not Halloween 3. No, it's fine. Season of the Witch. I heard good things, I just haven't got around to it yet. Then we have Catherine Mary Stewart. She was plays Maggie Gordon. She was in the 1989 version of Weekend and Birdies, the 1984 film Night of the Comet, and the 1985 film Mischief. Next up, we have
such a good movie.
Barbara Boslin playing Jane Rogan, the mother. She was in the 1981 film, the film Hill Street Blues, the 1984 film Calendar Girl Murders, and the 1990 film Cop Rock. Then we have Noman Snow playing Zur. He was in the film The Manhunter in 1986, the 1979 film The Europeans, and the 1993 film Going Underground. Going forward, we have Robert Preston, who was in The Music Man in 1962, Cloudburst in 1951, and The Gun for Hire in 1942. Next up, we have Chris Herbert, who was in the Twilight Zone movie in 1985, Fuzzbuck in 1986, and Otherworld 85. Otherworld in the movie in the year 85. Then we have John O'Leary playing Ryland Bursar, who was in the film Airplane 1980, and the 1978 film Moment by Moment, and the 1990 film The Hunting of Morella. Next up, we have George McDaniel, who plays Coden Officer. He was in Lionheart in 1990. Then we have Peggy Pope playing Elvira. She was recognized in the film 9 to 5 in 1980, Once Bitten in 1985, and the 1990s film The Substitute, that actually film. I can't remember the year that came out. Next up, we have Mark Emilio, who was in the film Total Recall in 1990, the film Arena in 1989, and was a star in Star Trek Deep Space Nine. And finally, we have Will Wheaton, who just played Lewis's friend, but this is a small part here, so it's just worth noting. He was in, of course, the 1986 film Stand By Me, Star Trek Next Generation, of course, where he's best known for, and he was also in the Robin Williams film Flubber. So and that is the cast of The Last Starfighter. Okay, Jimbo,
very good.
Ask
very
me
good.
a thing,
No,
or tell me something.
This is the first time in a long time that I've had these notes done forever. But back then, I wrote a biography up on Robert Preston, who played Centuri in this movie. Excellent role. He was born June 8th, 1918, in Newton Highlands, Massachusetts, and he died March 21st, 1987, in Montecito, California, of lung cancer. He's known best for his roles in The Music Man and The Last Starfighter. He had never sung a note professionally before The Music Man. Was in 3 of Oscar Best Picture nominees, Wake Island in 1942, The Music Man in 1962, and How the West Was Won in 1962. His salary for King of Alcatraz in 1938 was a mere $100 per week. And he had some quotes, and these are some of the ones that I found that I'll throw on here. Every time I turned down something or wasn't offered something I really wanted, the very next thing that I did was the thing I should have done all along. It's been a lucky career that way. Nothing that I've ever made really hurt me. I've survived some bad ones just the way I'd survived some plays that ran only 4 performances. So I've done my best to avoid B pictures. Why should I go into them now and call it television? Oh, wow. And then he said, I'd get the best role in every B picture and the second best in every A picture. So he sounds like a kind of a comedic guy I kind of would like to have met.
Very self-aware person in a good way.
One thing Kyle did not mention is that the director of this film, Nick Castle, played Michael Myers in the original Halloween. So
the original Mike Myers, everybody. Austin Powers, great movie. The horror icon. Right. This is Mike Myers. No!
This is Michael Myers.
Michael Myers.
Right.
Yeah.
So here we go. We'll talk a little bit about this movie now. All the visual effects, if you watch this movie, you got to remember this is the early 80s or halfway through the 80s, and the computer-generated stuff that they have, it looks cheesy now, especially when we watch it in high def. But for the time, it was amazing.
And I think they actually hold up very remarkably well. Like, they're very simplistic, but also like they're kept
It kind of
the
reminds me
appropriate
of
scenes.
the Star Fox on Super NES.
Yeah, but very much like they don't have like those spaceships appearing in like real world, so they don't look really out of place that much. They just they look odd in space, but that's the place where you want them to look odd, I think.
Right, and it's also funny that you see the DeLorean again in this movie. Mm-hmm. Famous from Back to the
DMC
Future.
Motor Company, man, they were all about it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Let's see here. This actually was Robert Preston's final movie appearance before his death in March 21st, 1987.
They had to change the script because they did not want it to be closely resemble to E.T. and Close Encounters, so they changed the plot from the suburbs to the trailer park. This was arguably the first movie to have all of its effects done by computer except for makeup and explosions, and definitely had the most computer effects of any movie since the movie Tron, which we covered way back, I believe, in episode 3 of this whole entire podcast.
Yeah, and all the computer effects were actually developed on a Cray XMP computer. So for the old tech fiends out there,
So Kyle, you probably have more stuff on your cell phone there than
by measures of magnitude,
right?
Yeah.
A lot of the let's see here. A lot of the scenes with the beta unit, which we and Kyle talked about, the beta unit was hilarious, were shot after the main filming was complete. Because the test audience liked the comic relief of the beta unit scenes, and director Nick Castle then decided to add a little bit of more originality to the boy that gets to go to outer space story. This is why many of the beta unit scenes, Lance Guest is actually wearing a wig. He had cut his hair by the time these scenes were shot. So his hair did look a little funny, now you know why.
But it also links a little bit to like the beta not looking quite right.
Right.
But looking close enough. Like you can definitely see it's definitely a wig, but also like because he's a fake human, that makes even more sense.
Right.
Yeah.
And one of my favorite scenes of this movie is where he takes his head off and he sets it on the desk.
Yeah. He's having a horrible nightmare.
Yeah.
Well, his little brother wakes up like, what in the world? And it's like, you're having a horrible nightmare. Go back to bed.
Yeah.
So good. So good.
The translator given to Alex on Rylos is the circuit board off of a digital watch.
Yeah.
According to screenwriter Jonathan R. Butel, the idea of this movie came about because he wandered into a video arcade. See, Kyle, back when I was young, they used to have these at the mall. They were called video arcades, where you go in there and they were all video games you could play. Probably Chuck E. Cheese for you when you went.
No, for me, it was always local movie theaters. They had the arcades in there. That's where I feel like.
But but they only have that was only a little bit. These arcades.
Full on arcades.
Like we had them called. I think they were called Aladdin's Castle or Aladdin's Palace in the malls around here, and they were just wall to wall video games.
Nowadays, like adults in the U.S. at least probably have like Dave and Buster's still. Like, they still have those going on.
Which, we have one that just opened up the road. So
wow, gotta go sometime.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me finish this.
No, Jimbo. I gotta have my own
So he
thoughts.
walked into this video arcade and he seen a young boy playing a video game. And he had just been reading the book The Once and Future King by T.H. White, and it occurred to him, what if a video game had been like a sword in a stone, and a boy had scored an incredible number of points in the video game, which sent out a ripple effect across the universe?
I believe you actually mentioned before that. Yeah, I can't remember. It's like when Greg talks to Centuri about it, and like I think he calls it like another Excalibur program or something like that. So like the idea that they've been doing this for hundreds of years, possibly.
How good is
stuck in my mind?
How good is Centuri in this movie? And I'll tell you another one of my favorite
Steals
scenes.
every scene he's in.
Another one of my favorite scenes is when they're flying up to wherever they're going, the command thing, and he takes off his eyeballs, and he's like cleaning his eyeballs. He turns around and looks. He's got those glowing red eyes or whatever. Those eyes, it's in the notes somewhere, but it didn't show any reflection off the windows or the thing, so that's pretty interesting. And he just pops them back in. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I love the idea. Like there's multiple little quirks of this film that I really appreciate because other films didn't quite do it all the time. Like all the aliens do look truly alien in a fun way, where like they don't look like relatable humans. Like if Centauri just walked up to you with his alien face, you'd be horrified of him. But he's still a lovable character in his own right, even though he doesn't have like some kind of like he's not an alien with like puppy dog eyes. Like a lot of other movies kind of do sometimes, or even like E.T. has a degree of like they're so so ugly, you gotta love them. Right. And also like same thing like that. With the beta human, I forget like what they call him, Beta Max or Beta Alex. But like, I love the idea of like incompetent technology being still used for these sci-fi civilizations still just having like incompetent robots trying to do all this thing. Like, I just imagine so many beta units across the galaxy. They're just doing terrible jobs of covering up their lives. It's so good.
Jonathan Butel was working as a cab driver when he wrote the first draft of this script, which is amazing. So,
wow.
Although Will Wheaton's speaking scenes were cut, he can be seen in 2 scenes, running around the trailer park early in the film wearing a red football jersey, and in the final scene where he is obscured standing behind Lewis wearing a blue jacket, possibly over the red jersey.
Let's see here. The voice of the video game that Alex Rogan played at the trailer park, the what's it called, Last Starfighter. It wasn't just called the Last Starfighter video game on the arcade, or it was a Starfighter game. I can't remember. But actually, it was the voice was done by Robert Preston for Centuri. So definitely like the whole idea of like this whole video game being Centuri's baby and getting it out before Christmas and all that kind of fun stuff.
Are you ready for this, Kyle? In 2009, it was announced that a long-awaited sequel titled Starfighter was going into production. The film would take place 25 years after the original film, with Norman Snow confirmed on to return as Zur. Ultimately, the sequel was never made. It may have followed a grown-up Lewis Rogan who misses his brother and is brought to Rylos to become a starfighter, or it may have involved Alex and Maggie's Rylos-born son or daughter, who sets out to settle a score with Zur when Alex is killed during a Kodan attack.
We were talking about a little bit before too, like like how would the series ever come back if it does? Because it is like it's good enough where it's worth having its own little. We think like it'd be like a sequel or even a series could be an adequate
or even
thing.
a reboot.
A reboot could also work to a degree, and just like I think like there's a fun way of retaining that. Not just reproducing those old digital effects, but also like having a simplistic art style could be really cool and appealing in modern times, something like that.
Now, do you think that just on a side note, do you think it ever works better for them to, if they do a sequel or if they do a reboot, would you rather see them keep some of the old animation styles and computer technology they used, or would you rather be all hammed up like the Marvel Cinematic Universe?
I'm kind of a fan of like I feel like Blade Runner 2049, if anyone saw that sequel, kind of hit a good mark where it was like, or even like, granted the renewed Star Wars trilogy too, like just like put a very a subdued like iteration of that technology. Like if like there's some like the technology in the first Last Starfighter film is like the original iPhone, and then this technology now would be like something like an iPhone 5 or something. Like it feels like an iterative process over the last films where like they've clearly advanced a little bit but not drastically. I don't want like a totally new kind of aesthetic going on. I want it to still kind of conjure what was going on in that 80s film and try and retain a little bit of that aesthetic.
Yeah, I don't want it to lose its nostalgia just because you can have better graphics.
Yeah. And like also like there's a
well, like Tron Legacy. Mm-hmm. I think it still captured the essence of the original, but even though it had updated graphics.
Yeah, and there's a real uniqueness to having that a little bit of a retro futurism going on in the artistic style that I would really appreciate if they did that, and like if they ever brought the series back, have a little bit closer to something more of a retro future rather than just having what we consider modern sci-fi aesthetics in like a reboot of a movie. I wouldn't really care for that, and I'd also love like the ship designs were like. Although you definitely want it to be like, sharp and clean and look like, like a practical effect to a degree in CG, I would also still love to have like the very simplified geometry of the ships and have those kind of designs where it's still very blocky and kind of weird in its own way.
It kind of looks like Tesla.
yeah. Or like the way the light, or the way like it doesn't really quite have the right light to it, where like the light doesn't seem to bounce off it the way you expect because it's like a simplified 3D at the time. I would like if they somehow retain that kind of interesting little visual quirk in like a modern movie. I think like that it has a lot of potential in it to make the movie look really unique and cool in its own way.
Right.
So that's my personal opinion on the matter, how you do a sequel reboot.
Nick Castle specifically chose Craig Safan to compose the score. Great score too, by the way.
Fantastic.
And I showed Kyle earlier, there is a Last Starfighter musical. I was like, you have got to be kidding me. It is on Apple Music. It's called The Last Starfighter, the musical, and the first song is Starlight, Starbright. Just buckle up if you're trying to listen. I played it for Kyle, and he's just over like, what are you talking about?
What are you doing right now? This is not right. Turn this off.
Soon after Alex meets Greg for the first time, we see Greg adjusting a device with rotating beams. This prop is a mainstay of engineering sets, most notably seen in Airplane 2, the sequel in 1982.
Wasn't wasn't William Shatner also one of the things like, what's this machine do? And it's just like, it appears to have this light rod that goes back and forth. We haven't figured out what it means yet. I'm pretty sure that was one of the joke props of that movie.
Kyle, Robin Williams was offered for the role of Zur, but he passed. Would you have seen Robert Williams as Zur?
Yeah, I think I could definitely. Like he definitely. I forget what was that show where he played an alien back in the 80s? Remember the name of that show? Robin Williams.
Mark and Mindy?
Mork and Mindy, yeah, exactly. Like similar, changing that kind of vibe, but also making it sinister would have made it a really good kids film. I think actually, the film would have been a little different, but also still really good.
Right,
Robin Williams in the role.
In addition to the major Star Trek universe, later played by Starfighter cast members Will Wheaton and Mark Alamayo, several others in the movie's cast guest starred in various Star Trek franchises. They included Dan Mason, Barbara Bosson, Norman Snow, and Jeffrey Blake, but notable among them is Meg Wiley, Granny Gordon, who played one of the Talazon keepers in the Star Trek 1966 pilot, Star Trek The Cage, in 1986.
Yeah, I have that note here somewhere too. Yeah, same note. Yeah. But agreed. Pretty cool. Sci-fi actors get tossed in the sci-fi roles, how it goes. Like a lot of them, mainstays in the Star Trek universe.
Now, this I read this one. This one upset me because how awesome would this have been? Galoob created prototype action figures for the movie, but they were never produced because retailers didn't believe the film would be successful. The figures included Alex, Trailer Park, and Starfighter outfits, Maggie, Centauri, Grig, Zur, Krill, Akoden, and the tentacled Starfighter, the two Xanadoxians, and Durian. They were planned to be released in 2-figure packs. Ultimately, the film was a modest success, but by then it was too late to produce the toys.
Yeah, and so I think the retailers probably actually made it the right call in that case, where like it's just better safe than sorry, and like even if it did make those toys, it still would have been only.
But
like
I would have still liked them come out with at least Centauri, Alex, and Maggie, maybe what I agree.
Very simple toys,
just not a whole thing. Maybe just like a Nico statue or something. Now,
even then, like in the retro market today, they could still be made today, and I think they would actually sell pretty. They probably even sell better today than they would back in the 80s. But I think that actually would have been really cool, and also like never say never to the Last Starfighter having a future someday. Right. Hopefully, it does.
This was shot in only 40 days.
That's for the 80s. That's actually impressive. But of course, we've gone through hundreds of films. We went through a lot of films, like especially in the 50s and earlier. So I think what was it? Starting like 2 weeks or
Texas Chainsaw Massacre was 21 days or something. If I remember something like
so
that.
like just about half that time.
Right.
So for the 80s, that's a pretty fast production time. But for films that we usually cover, that's par for the course.
Right. Nick Castle, Lance Guest, and Dan O'Hurley had all previously been in the Halloween film franchise, as Kyle was talking about earlier. Castle played Michael Myers in Halloween 78, Guest played Jimmy in Halloween 2, 1981, and O'Hurley played Conal Cochran in Halloween 3, Season of the Witch in 82. Dan O'Hurley also played Grig's wife in the Grig's family photo.
Wow, that's great. That's great.
According to Twitter, in April 2018, a reboot is in the works. A screenplay was submitted by Gary Whitta, who had wanted to make a reboot for many years. Matt also provided some concept artwork. Both worked on Rogue One, a Star Wars story, in 2016. So there's still a little bit of buzz about it, but it's just one of those things, man.
I had a long running joke for a friend for probably more than a decade about like Bill and Ted 3 never being made, and we always joke about that because every year and a half there'd be a new news story about like, oh yeah, we'll tell you bigger guys, it's coming out anytime now, and we had a joke going on like that movie's never gonna get made. Oh yeah, Bill and Ted 3 anytime now, but then it actually got made and it's all right.
And now I just killed your joke. It's like the joke in Dumb and Dumber where he went into where he did that joke for like 24 years or something. Jim Carrey did.
And then it finally happened. So you're just like, oh, okay. So never say never. I hope it does get a sequel someday. I would love to see a reboot or sequel or something about Last Starfighter in the future. So hopefully we get it.
Everyone on set loved the veteran performer Robert Preston and said what an amazing experience it was working with him. But they all thought he was much older than his actual age of 64. He had been a heavy smoker for many years and unfortunately died only 4 years later at the age of 68 from lung cancer.
Aww.
This is also one of Vernon Washington's last acting roles before his death on June 7th, 1988. Kyle, if I asked you what one video game do you think was a major influence behind this film, what would you say?
For 1984? Oh man,
It would be like
Asteroids probably, maybe?
Close. Space Invaders was a major influence behind this film.
Mm-hmm. I would have thought Asteroid, especially for like the Death Blossom at the end. I thought that's a very
asteroidy.
That's a very asteroidy moment for that movie. That's why I went for that guess.
When Alex first meets Grig, now this is very interesting. When Alex first meets Greg in the space station, he's wearing you remember when they pinned the translator on him that allows him to hear English when an alien language is being spoken?
Yeah.
Which leads us to assume that when Greg first speaks to Alex, he's speaking an alien language. Yet, at the end of the movie, when he greets the residents of the trailer park, Greg comes out and they are able to understand and respond to him, even though none of the residents have translating devices.
Pothole. That's all it is. Yeah, that's fine. Or like some kind of a simulation, like you can make a sci-fi reason for why that works. Sure, go for it. You know, the spaceship had a transmitter array, which caused the translator-transmitter. That's what we're going to call it.
Translator-transmitter. Okay.
Yeah.
When Centuri is driving the star car, he moves Robert Preston's face to reveal the face. I talked about this where the glow casts no reflection on the windshield, nor the passenger partition. In the initial meeting, the Zanduzan reaches down through the roofing and grabs Alex's jacket, from which Alex escapes. Remember when he sees him and reaches down? Since the Zanduzan are there to assassinate Alex, has a projectile weapon and is in close proximity to Alex, he could have completed his mission quickly with just a shot to the head and been done with it. But then we would have a movie. You know, I'm waiting for the movie day one day where the bad guy just comes up, kills the good guy, and it's like the end. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know. There's definitely a lot of movies that still kind of need that kind of plot work done.
So, Kyle, give me your thoughts on The Last Starfighter.
The Last Starfighter is an absolute classic, and I love it to death. It's a great movie and deserves to be brought back one day, I think. And I feel like it's like, in terms of appreciation culturally, it's just like one of those things like everyone knows what Star Wars is, but then like right under that second tier, Starfighter sits like right at the top around there. Like that's where I kind of feel like it sits, where like you have to go with that next level down, where actually you're a little bit more of a sci-fi buff to know The Last Starfighter even exists nowadays. It's kind of it almost falls like just under that cult, just above that cult following, but just under Star Wars in that little gray area that I really appreciate. And so overall, I think this film is a great, well worth watching anytime, and just a good film. Jimbo, how do you feel about it?
Well, this is 37 years old now movie. So I was 7 when this came out. Mm-hmm. So of course, you know, I'm like, oh, you know.
You were the right time.
Yeah, so they would have made a killing off of me with action figures. But I love this movie. I was talking to you, man. I watch this movie every so often now since it's digital now. It was hard to find on VHS there for a while, and even DVD, you know, until like the 25th anniversary.
There were some rights issues for a good long time, I believe.
Right. So now that I have it digitally downloaded, I can pull it up. I love the musical score. I think the musical score is it rates right up there with some of John Williams, even though he didn't do this one. It rates up there as far as iconic to me as a musical score. I can sit down and watch this any time, not be bored. It's hilarious at times, especially when. The scene where Beta Alex and Maggie go to the campground or whatever with the other guy. The other two are making out. Remember, and she ends up he's trying to compute all this stuff, and he starts talking to her. He can hear what the other guy's saying to the girl, and he hears everything that's going on and everything. And there's some comedic scenes, like the little boy grabbing the Playboy issues. You know, it's not like that. Where's June?
Yeah.
Hello, Miss June, or whatever.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of fun stuff in there as you go along. But overall, I just think it's a really enjoyable movie. Mm-hmm. You should definitely watch it.
Yeah, and I give respect to granted it was a choice to avoid similarities, but going to a trailer park also sends it down into a little more of a it's not rural. I want to say a blue collar kind of sensibility in some of its like human characters that I really appreciate, that feel like often unrepresented in films, especially like you don't really see a lot of like a lot of films like they depict like trailer park people of being like lower class or like lesser or something like that, and this film actually treats them like sincerity of being like good fashion people who are goodwill and hard to do and just live in trailer park.
Right.
So I give it props for that too.
Yeah, and just to see somebody that actually came from the trailer park to become a starfighter, I thought it was really awesome too.
Yeah, and came back, and I appreciate everyone. Everyone was proud of him for what he did and all kind of stuff too. So it had a good community atmosphere for his life that I really appreciate, because trailer parks get a bad rap for people in all kinds of situations, and so it's nice to see a movie that actually depicts them with dignity.
So, Kyle, if let's say your girlfriend came back from space and said, "Well, we got to go back," would you leave all your family and pets behind? And
I mean, I shouldn't answer that so fast. Yeah, probably, maybe I would go.
You can go, but you can't bring your animals. Kyle, are you going?
Yes.
Yes. Sorry, I love your dog, but yes.
They all have the understanding. Like, I love them all, but like, the second I get to go see Alien Worlds, I'm sorry, I'm done. I'm going to cut loose. I'm like...
Well, thanks for joining us once again here and with the inflatable Kyle. We appreciate each and every one of you. Thanks for listening to us again and staying with us. We will be coming back shortly next week with a new movie. It's another space movie, and I do believe it is going to... We'll go ahead and say it. It is going to be Spaceballs. Just because we haven't done a comedy in a long time and we haven't done a Mel Brooks in a long time. And Spaceballs is one of those ones where you can just cut back and have fun.
Exactly.
It's just crazy.
We're in the mood for it, definitely.
Yeah, so... That being said, this episode's coming to a close, and that's a wrap.
And cut.